35 years ago, on March 19, 1979, the U.S. House of Representatives opened its sessions to live television cameras, and C-SPAN was there.
The hour to which the House arrived. Adjourned, having arrived, the House will be in order. Prayer will be offered by the Reverend Chaplain.
You might never guess that the man responsible for bringing you live congressional floor hearings was born in Alexandria, Louisiana, grew up in New Orleans, and attended St. Aloysius High School. Gary Hymel earned his undergraduate degree in journalism from Loyola University. That's when he came to the Manship School, where he earned a master's degree in journalism in 1959. Gary Hymel's early career was frenzied, to say the least, especially for a father of 7 children. Hymel was working 3 jobs in New Orleans. He was a reporter in Jefferson Parish for the New Orleans State's Item newspaper. He was the public information officer for the Louisiana National Guard, and he was the Louisiana correspondent for Time magazine. It was while he was efforting a story for Time magazine that Hymel became acquainted with his future boss, U.S. Representative Hale Boggs. That's when Hymel was requesting a quote from Congressman Boggs regarding his position on the Warren Commission. Not long after that, in 1965, Congressman Boggs sought out Hymel about coming to work for the representative as his administrative assistant in Washington, D.C.
When Gary Hymel first came to Washington to work in my father's office, I remember he had so many kids that he had had several jobs in New Orleans. And one of his kids said to him, "You mean, Daddy, you're only going to be doing one job?"
Yes, one job, but one very important job, working as an administrative assistant to the U.S. House Majority Whip and eventual House Leader, Hale Boggs.
And when Hale died, unexpectedly in a plane crash in 1972, Tip O'Neill took Hale's place, and Gary went over into the whip's office, in the majority leader's office rather, with Tip O'Neill. When Tip became speaker, Gary really rose to a position of influence.
Hymel's tasks included writing speeches, compiling vote count projections, arranging the legislative floor schedule and seating charts, acting as press spokesman, and coordinating foreign trips for congressional delegations.
And you know, when you're having to deal with 435 kids in a candy store, the entire U.S. House of Representatives, you can see how sometimes it can get pretty contentious. Gary was one of those guys who was common currency, we used to say in politics. He could deal with either side of the aisle. He could deal with them, make them feel like their positions had been articulated, that their concerns had been addressed, and at the end of the day, everyone was happy with the way Gary worked things out.
One of Hymel's more apparent accomplishments was his and Speaker O'Neill's collaboration with journalist Brian Lamb to spearhead the televising of congressional hearings and House debates on a new television network called C-SPAN. The year was 1979.
I can't think of anybody who deserves to be in the Manship Journalism Hall of Fame more than Gary Hymel. I've worked with him for over 40 years. He's first and foremost a journalist, even though when I first met him, he was working for Tip O'Neill, who was the Speaker of the House. And more than anything else, he's responsible for creating the independence that exists between the media and the Capitol when it comes to televising the House of Representatives.
The marriage of this medium and our open debate has the potential, Mr. Speaker, to revitalize representative democracy.
Extending the U.S. democratic process to all Americans was the impetus behind C-SPAN. About 3 years later, in 1981, Hymel was offered a job as a lobbyist for then Gray & Company. He also co-authored All Politics is Local, a famous book of accounts and anecdotes from Tip O'Neill's career in politics. And speaking of local, after retiring from the public affairs arena in D.C., Hymel was elected to the Louisiana Board of Ethics, along with former state legislator and attorney Frank Semino.
I think clearly all his years in office, first of all, of course, as a reporter, seeing reality of life, then in Congress, reality of politics, that he acquired a feel for what was right and what was wrong and what was just and fair. And so he was able to use that in solid judgment on the Board of Ethics.
Gary Hymel and his wife Winky had one more child after moving to Washington, D.C. bringing the total to 8 children and now 15 grandchildren and numerous friends and acquaintances. Congratulations to Gary Hymel, co-founder of C-SPAN, friend and advisor to the powerful and the American public alike, a 2015 inductee into the LSU Manship School Hall of Fame.